Sup nerds, it's your favorite cat girl boy Otakunofuji with another anime review. Today we're talking about My First Girlfriend is a Gal, a fanservice-fueled romantic comedy starring Japan's most frightening creatures, gyaru, or better known as gals. The show is mostly good, but suffers from some self-inflicted horrible character wounds and some obnoxiously predictable and frustrating drama at the end that hurts it quite a bit. It's a solid 6 out of 10. Your first question regarding My First Girlfriend is a Gal, unless you're a super cool weeb who has already thoroughly researched the subject, is probably, what the heck is a gal? Right? Gals, or gyaru, is a Japanese fashion subculture that is basically the opposite of traditional Japanese beauty standards. Most commonly, the girls are usually very tanned, have bleached or dyed hair, use tons of makeup, wear revealing clothing, and have about as close to a slang-filled Valley Girl personality as you can get in Japan, though there are several different subcultures even among gals. Personally, I'm kind of into gals in anime, but not so much in real life. They seem super scary in real life. My First Girlfriend is a Gal features, you guessed it, gals as the main female characters. The story is about a loser guy named Junichi, who is basically forced by his friends to confess his love to a super hot gal named Yukana. He doesn't really feel that way about her initially, and assumes that she's a slut because she's a gal and will instantly bang him the moment he says he likes her. Of course, as is usually the case in shows like this, Yukana isn't a slut at all and is actually pretty conservative despite how she dresses and acts. In a surprise move, she's actually impressed with the fact that he had the guts to ask her out, and finds his awkward nervousness funny. So she agrees to go out with him. At first, Junichi just thinks he's on the fast track to Bone Town, but the two realize they have actual chemistry together and fall in love. Similar to Yamada's first time, the show starts out with a weird, gross premise, but settles into a pretty relatable and charming high school story. Of course, there are other characters involved, which is where basically all of the drama in the show comes from. First is Ronko, another gal who is Yukana's best friend and is in love with her, so she tries everything she can to break the couple up. Then there's Junichi's childhood friend Nene, who is tiny and short but has ridiculously huge boobs and starts acting like a gal to get his attention. And then the class president Yui, who seems cool and calm and serious and perfect at school, but lives a double life as a gal live streamer and is pissed that Junichi doesn't treat her like a princess the way everyone else does. And we can't forget Junichi's male friends, a trio of even bigger losers than him. They're the ones who initially force him to confess to Yukana, and then later give him all sorts of terrible dating advice, because they're virgins who don't actually know how anything in the real world outside of porn works. Two of them are just sort of normal pervert morons, but one of them is an actual pedophile who ruins the show. He's gross. He adds nothing to the show, and is just there to be disturbing and problematic. He single-handedly makes this show hard to recommend because he is so open and unashamed about his disgusting preference. Other characters call him out on it, but they really should just be calling the police. The other problem with My First Girlfriend is a Gal is that it suffers from a problem all too common in anime, where the first big chunk of the show is all funny harem hijinks, but then drama is forced in at the end that ruins it all. There's seriously tons of shows that I just don't watch the last 2 or 3 episodes because the entire tone suddenly shifts and everything I like gets flushed down the toilet in favor of unnecessary drama. In the case of My First Girlfriend is a Gal, it is even more annoying because Yukana is mostly in the wrong here, but Junichi is the one that has to fix everything. What happens is that an attractive former male classmate of Yukana suddenly appears, and Junichi doesn't like it. But Yukana gets mad that he's jealous and thinks that he doesn't trust her or something, and then refuses to talk to him for days afterward. Basically, she doesn't understand his feelings and then won't let him explain it. But it's all his fault somehow. Right or wrong, Junichi feels like this relationship is barely hanging on by a thread to begin with, because Yukana is clearly out of his league. So he's insecure in the presence of someone he perceives as being a better fit for Yukana. Yukana could/should recognize this and try to put him at ease. But instead, they're stupid teenagers who don't know what they're doing, so she gets mad and totally shuts him out instead. It's another case where if characters would actually talk to each other and say what they felt, it would solve everything. But no, anime got anime. What makes it even more frustrating is that all the other characters are all like, "You're a stupid asshole for being completely justifiably jealous, Junichi. So go beg her to take you back because you were wrong somehow." Screw that. I freaking hate it. It's stupid. Thankfully, that drama is really only around for an episode and a half. So the second half of episode 10 is more fun, and then the extra OVA episode is back to good times. The rest of the show is fine overall. Like I said, it's mostly a charming and relatable high school romantic comedy. There is, of course, plenty of fan service, and some of the scenes where Junichi's imagination is running wild are pretty darn great. Worth noting, I think, is that the girls are presented pretty respectfully throughout the show in a way that is obviously intended to push back on the notion that all gals are sluts by default. Even Ronko, who likes to put on a front like she's banged 100 dudes, almost certainly isn't nearly that experienced. These are still high school girls after all, and are still young and naive and innocent, or at least I'd like to think so. In the end, My First Girlfriend is a Gal is pretty good. I hate the pedo character and the phony, frustrating drama towards the end, but outside of that, it's a pretty okay show the rest of the time. Yukana is great, Yui is fascinating, and I kind of like Nene, even though she's kind of borderline. It's a show I recommend checking out if you like fan service, like romantic comedies, and are interested in gals. But know that the show is firmly middle of the road in quality compared to other similar shows in the genre. The first episode also doesn't make the best impression. You just kind of hate everybody, both the guys and the gals, but it gets better. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. If you liked this review or any of our other content that you should totally check out if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We're going to do lots more anime reviews, top 10 lists, tier lists, waifu factory videos, sexy game videos, and anything else that we can think of to celebrate fanservice-y anime goodness.